Well, hello everyone. You have right here, I'm talking about the understanding about found right here. And half the time it sure seems that way, that whenever we do think about that in 102 is toward it really, that whenever you find something, and half the time it sure seems that way, that what does it usually mean whenever you find something? And you're thinking it's toward it, yeah, you may not know what it is, or you may not even know what exactly what it's for, whichever, but half the time it sure seems that way, that when we do speak about found right here, and thinking this toward it, yeah, that when we do, if we were to actually put that into any sort of sentence, fragment or something like that, and at the time you're thinking too that whenever it comes to found right here, so it sure seems that way, that every time are we necessarily thinking about information, knowledge, or something like that, or we just talking about it as to where I found this paper in the closet or in the backpack, and I was just wondering exactly what's it for, and what was it doing there, and so half the time it sure seems that way, that every time we do speak about words and knowledge, though, and you're thinking as to where that, yeah, so it's like so anything that we're going to be working with, really, but half the time it sure seems that way, that every time we do speak about documents, though, in prints, and 102, that, yeah, well, really, that when we do find something, that at the time, do you feel proud whenever you found something, or do you really feel like, okay, yeah, well, I found this letter, or I found this document in the closet, but was it really supposed to be there, or was it not supposed to be there? It was supposed to be somewhere else, and so a lot of times it sure seems that way, that every time we do read, and maybe every time we do read about these stories, a lot of times you're thinking as toward it, yeah, do we really think real closely at that when we speak about found right here, whenever we talk about found and sell, and then also with agreement right here. So you got over here this document right here, understanding about found right here, and so it sure seems that way, that when we do speak about found right here, and everybody might think is toward it, yeah, based on from how everything all comes together right here, and maybe somebody might even say that yeah, well, for sure, you're going to remember somebody just by what you calls like the work that they were doing. Yeah, you're going to remember, you're going to remember them very well just by what that they were working with, and so that's another reason why that I want to go ahead and use right here for special attention right here, and I'll go ahead and right here duplicate this, and yeah, move this right down here, and but still that move that down there, and bow right there, yeah, for special attention right here. So if I were to actually put that even sideways right there, and like everybody else might say, is that yeah, for special attention right there. So a lot of the hard work that you were working on in doing something in year 102, yeah. So if you put it on there sideways, and let's just maybe make that smaller. Yeah, make it smaller, so that way, yeah. Okay, yeah. Bigger or smaller? So it's readable, right? Yeah, how about make it a little bit bigger? Yeah, I tried that, but anyway, so talk about for special attention, or if anything special right here. And a lot of times it sure seems that way, that when we do speak about documents, though, and I want to know too that yeah, that when we do speak about documents most of the time, that when we do look at them, and if we're talking about maybe a 4 or 5 page document right here, talk about what graduate right here. But one thing I did want to mention right here, talk about profound right here. So, like everybody else, it says, to where I'm sure most of us have had our experience with what's it like to actually find something, and another thing, point out, like talk about what exactly is it that you're thinking about right here, and so it's like, yeah, what exactly does that mean? And so I could put that right down, like move that right down here. What does that usually mean? whenever if you're going to be talking to anybody, and let's just say that you're going to be asking them, what are you thinking about? And so yeah, any articles or anything like that that you're going to be reading about, and at 102 that so yeah, so if you do magnify any prints or maybe enlarge any prints for any reason at all, just to make it easier to read, and a lot of times, what exactly is going through your mind whenever you think about that, and a lot of times I can tell everybody too that I actually think about the special attention really, but then also that what exactly what do you think about whenever you actually find something? So whenever you find something, and let's just say that find and realize something, and like everybody else would say, is that do you really think anything of it? Such as whenever somebody loses something, but then whenever you find something, and maybe if you're able to, so a lot of times it's like, whenever you were working on something that you actually find something. And so that's why it sure seems that way, that the study about the basic psychology, right? That, whenever you do find something, that, there's only so much that you really do know, and so much, so much attention, right? But a lot of times it's like, you'll keep something in mind, right? But a lot of times it's like whenever we do think about finding something, whenever you found something, that you're thinking is toward, whenever you do find something, that you're like, well, really, that whenever you found something, it may not have been something that you were looking for, but maybe somebody else was looking for it earlier. So a lot of times it sure seems that way, that every time we do speak about looking at something and maybe, doing any sorts of spring cleaning around the house or any papers that you're going to be looking at, and you're always going to be 102 that, when we do speak about found, though, and at the time you're 102 that, well, do you think that maybe you could maybe, you set a zip folder, or maybe a binder, maybe a folder or a binder, electronic binder on your system, to where you have one label for found documents or something like that. But half the time, it sure seems that way. That really, how can we really explain the stories whenever it comes to whenever you're going to be reading a story, and let's just say if it is based on talking to somebody, having a conversation with somebody about something, and let's just say if you found this or that to be very interesting right there, and so that's why it sure seems that way. That talk about for graduated right here, but still that it's like talk about for explain right here, and I mean I can go ahead and go ahead and bolt right there. Explain. So I know a lot of teachers would probably say that, if you want to go ahead and talk about something, could you really explain to the students? So, Mike, if you can go ahead and duplicate that and maybe paste that on a document down below, and so that way you can go ahead and tell people, like, could you explain on what we're looking at right here? So almost anything that you're going to be working on, really, that somebody's going to ask you to explain. Please explain what we're looking at right here. And so let's just say that, So this right here was supposed to be a document right here that's supposed to contain so many words and settings and all that. And so it's like, for explain. And so each time we say the word, for explain right here, and I'm likely 102 that, for explain. Explain, does explain pretty much mean to where it lets your mind just kind of move, explore around all these texts and writing? Does explain really mean is to where, up to 4 or 5 characters long of paragraphs, all this writing right here, and usually, like everybody else would say, is to where that, the details can't really be explained on the application. So what you're going to go ahead and do, if anything, is you're going to go ahead and, And I know a lot of teachers might even find that to be, pretty relevant, by the way, is that whenever you're going to be working on a document, what sorts of signs and symbols and also stickers and stamps could you possibly use just to be able to give any sort of sign to where to, yeah, what exactly is it that you're telling this person? What exactly is it that you're telling a student, a fellow student? And if you're going to be working on something, and the source of a language, a source of sign, the source of language that you find about the work a lot of times, and a lot of times, like all the other teachers might say that you might see that most of the time. You usually see that maybe after 3 weeks of after you worked on something, and usually that's usually the case. Usually after 3 to 5 weeks after you worked on something, then maybe you can better understand what exactly is it that all this that it was talking about right here. But still, but at the same time, it's like when we do speak about found right here, and I want to know too that like yeah, we found that to be very interesting. Information, knowledge right here. Go easy and. So yeah, I thought I'd go ahead and talk about that, but still, that at the same time, that tell everybody that really, again, what's it like to actually sell something? I'm like, well, are you really selling resources and like yeah, information resources and resources that are provided to you based on the needs and so that is why that I'm like, yeah, I can go and write it right up above here. I'll talk about for resources. And so if you know anybody who has no clue on how something works for sure, but still, like everybody else might say, that even though if you don't actually work for the company, that you can still pass that message to somebody who needs a better understanding on how that works. And a lot of times, a lot of companies, by the way, would say that yeah, if you have access, I'm like, yeah. When the next time you talk to this person, the next time you talk to them, make sure you let them know about about us. And so yeah. So most of the time, it seems like a lot of these companies, by the way, would say that that's one of the reasons why they form advertisements and all that. But still, but at the same time, it sure seems that way. That every time we do speak about jobs, and every time we do speak about maybe insurance applications and all that, you may not be an actual employee working there for the company, right? But then knowing about your knowledge about how well that the application, maybe how well that what they're talking about, maybe during the meeting and even on the websites, and so that is why it sure seems that way. That it's important just to be able to recognize a lot of information that you see, right? And so that is why it sure seems that way. That every time you do think about that, I talk about for explain right here, and anybody say, yeah, does explain usually mean that there's like what you call a line of maybe 5 paragraph sentences explaining about the details about that, or like everybody else might say, is to where that, well, and some of those sentences, by the way, are pretty boring, by the way, that they could be very boring, and so that's why it sure seems that way, that every time we think about that and want to know too that really what exactly is it like just to be able to find something, and whenever you found something, and anybody say, yeah, well, that pretty much means is to where that if you found something, and if you found something to be very interesting, for sure, that you go ahead and look at it, and like everybody else would say, is to where that do you feel like I'm like, yeah, like it's your lucky day? I'm like, yeah, but still. But at the same time, that we do think about that, and 102 that look at articles like these right here, and like these right here, and like say you had a ticket moving forward, but you see right here, talking about with graduated right here, and then on the next page right here, and goes by is to where graduated your marketing, and so yeah, all these resources right here. But I just want to mention that right there of talking about whenever it comes to special attention, right, and then talk about for depends, but talk about for found, and but anyway, talk about for speak up, speak up and, what's on your mind. But anyway, but the way I think about talk about profound, you'd be found interesting, right? But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.